Welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Olson, and today I have a special guest, Amber Lange from Keller Williams. You have 16 years of experience, and Amber and I have done a couple transactions together. It has been awesome, extremely smooth, professional, and exactly why I invited you on as a guest today.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me here today. So, yes, I worked with you too, and it was really great. Smooth closing, quick, closed on time, so it was fantastic.
That is the idea, right? I mean,
Yes.
That's how we retain our clients, is making sure we have that smooth process start to finish. And, one of the reasons why, like clients use us as professionals, specifically like real estate, in the last couple of years, a lot of people did for sale by owners.
Yes.
And and I hear that, I cringe because it's just, they just don't know what they're doing in a lot of cases. But the big thing is that for sale by owners, just because you're not paying a commission out necessarily to a real estate agent doesn't mean you're going to make more money. Right?
Yep, 100%. And especially in the last couple of years, because a lot of people have tried it, they're thinking, well, anybody can sell their house, right? Put it on the market. But they don't quite understand the whole process that goes into it and how important, especially with this, since the pandemic, pricing is very important. You can't price it too high because people know it's a competitive market and they have to bid over. So if you price it too high, you're not going to get the same amount of showings. So what we have done in the last couple of years, just to be competitive on the buyer side, if we've had a buyer that maybe we've had, a little bit financial isn't quite as strong as some of the other buyers out there, is we've looked specifically for sale by owners because they're not on the market. We've gotten really good deals, and it's great for us. But yeah, unfortunate on the for sale by owner side for sure.
Right,
Yep.
right. So, and I mean that's the biggest key to all of it is why And I get some people like to be the do-it-yourself and I'll do everything themselves. But as we see it, we see the struggles that they have. It's specifically also inspections come up, and now there's kind of a like a back and forth, like they're not being represented by anybody that really knows how to navigate that.
Correct.
And that's the real key piece where I see it coming from.
Yep,
And,
exactly.
and so forth. But anyway, that's why we use professionals. And you and your team have been awesome. Like you have how many people on your team now?
So I have an admin and then 2 other agents that work with me.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Awesome. And you've been with Keller Williams for 8 years now.
8 years. Yes.
And Keller Williams has been a very good real estate company, and I think they've been growing exponentially over the last dozen years or so.
Yes. So across the country, we have the largest office in the state. So we're currently up to 348 agents here in Maple Grove. So it's a great office to be at too. A lot of them are individually owned, so you have different brokers, which this Maple Grove one has been. It's a great place, great company.
Awesome.
For sure.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
How did you get your start in real estate?
So I actually got my first job right out of college, and I was working full time.
Right.
And I'm like, I think I should try to get into real estate too. I had grown up do you know what house hacking is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I figured he did, but some people might not know what that means. But I feel like when I was growing up, my dad was probably like one of the first, like before that term even became a thing.
Right.
I grew up in duplexes my entire life. So my dad was always like, if we're going to buy a house, we have to buy a duplex so that our renters can cover our mortgage. So,
Sure.
So I've always kind of been interested in like real estate, investing, and so that's kind of how. And my dad was a realtor for not a long time, but maybe like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I was so young, I don't remember that.
Right.
So then I just was like, I think I'm gonna do this, and that's kind of how I got my start.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
and in 2006.
Right.
So it was.
Oh, right before the nice crash. Right?
Yes.
So you went ramped up and then like. Ooh.
Yes, that's exactly what
Right,
happened. I
right.
jumped into it and I was like, this is great.
Right.
And I was like, wow.
Right. Eyes
What
wide
just
open.
happened?
But, hey, look that's 16 years later.
Yes.
Here you are, team, successful, professional. I mean, you've learned everything. And, and I do have to apologize to everybody. We have some construction going on below, so apologize to you. So that's not part of the plan, but that's what's going on. But no, that's a fantastic story. I mean, house hacking, this is what really, I love doing this, talking to people, first-time home buyers that young. A lot of times it helps us as a lender because in this market sometimes it's super tough because like they might not have the income to qualify for some of these homes.
Right.
But if we get a starter home as a duplex, and that pays for part of the mortgage, that helps you qualify for more. It's a little bit more of a challenge in some cases, but it's a fantastic way to really build wealth. And after a couple of years, you rent out both sides and you move into your new home, and you're subsidizing now part of the new home for doing that, right?
Yep.
And it works out pretty well.
Right. And you can go up to 4 units.
Yes.
Right. So
right.
it's just
Not
kind of
just
cool
a
too.
duplex.
So you could buy a fourplex
Right.
and live in it, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I just had a guy not too long ago. I mean, like 24 years old, like got a fourplex.
Yeah.
And like he's just stoked. He's like, but he's going on that path, right? So he wants to house hack. Eventually, he wants to not work anymore, but just own properties.
Right.
And it's amazing for people, like the wealth it creates.
For sure, definitely.
What other areas do you specialize in? Do you have anything in particular that you go after?
Yep. So my business is a little bit different probably than a lot of residential agents. So I actually do a mix of residential and commercial. So I started commercial probably 8 years ago.
Okay.
Right before I came to Keller Williams, actually probably 9. So I was at a different company. There's another broker that was there that had asked me to, if I wanted to help with his commercial side of the business and grow it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I was working with a lot of investors at the time. So I thought it'd be a great idea. Got into it, and then I had the opportunity to move over to KW Commercial. And so I did that 8 years ago. So I'm the director out of the managing director out of the Maple Grove office.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it's great. I mean, so I do, and when I did move over, I was going to go into commercial full time, but then I just still have so many clients, past clients, family, friends that I continue to work with. Yeah. So
Right.
I've continued to do it, and I enjoy it. I enjoy I'm probably a little bit unique that way too, where commercial brokers are like, I can't do residential because it's just not my thing. They're totally different types of real estate. I enjoy both. So I've just kind of worked that business, and I've really enjoyed it. So on the commercial side, I do sales and leasing. Mm-hmm. So I work with tenants and landlords, which is kind of a cool. There's a lot of different new businesses out there, just different ventures. Like
so you're a grinder.
Yeah. It's super fun. I mean, it's different. So, and then on the residential side, I've been doing that, and I work with both, buyers, sellers, and then a lot of investors too.
Right. Awesome. Well, great. I mean, this is why we bring you on, right? To show people what you do, right? And this is the process. And again, the level of professionalism you have showed from start to finish with any files that we've done has been awesome. Have you ever do you have any good stories? Like if something went I'm sure you do, all real estate does, but like anything that's like where something went sideways and you were able to overcome it without too much crazy, or maybe a bunch of crazy.
Yeah, I think, so as far as a story like that, I mean, I've just being on the investment side of loan has been very interesting.
Yeah.
I have a couple clients, and one in particular who buys a lot of houses in the redemption period. So I end up walking through a lot of these properties where you're like, wow, what just happened here, right? Just full of stuff. And so, and sometimes there's some title things to work through that you have to be a little bit more creative on those. But yeah, there's been some very, I would say, just crazy houses that I've been through.
Right. I can only
people have
imagine,
lived in for a long time with a lot of animals that they sometimes don't even realize that the animals are still there. Like it's like they have that much stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as like anything particular, as far as something's gone sideways, I mean, it seems like that can happen in real estate quite a bit. But that's where I think being an expert and a professional in the real estate industry is like, those are the things that we try not to, we try to figure out those up front, right? So they're not actually happening.
Right. And then sometimes they're just out of your control, right?
Sometimes they're
like
completely
when you're
out
walking
of your
in,
control.
when you're doing that walkthrough, and all of a sudden you find this, or title finds something like this, right?
Yeah, title might find something. Yeah, you could do a walkthrough, and I mean, I've showed up, and they haven't even moved out yet, so the entire house is full of and the sellers, they're crying because it was such a stressful situation and that was I'm like, well, how did the listing agent not know that they weren't even close to moving out yet? So that was like.
So outside of being a real estate
That
agent,
was
we're a
frustrating.
therapist, right? You become a
Yes,
therapist, you become
Yep.
like, we're problem solvers. And that's really the key to why people use professionals.
Yep.
And so forth. I've been in the industry not as nearly as long as you. I came from the auto world, and
Okay.
so I sold cars right out of college. Did that for a couple years, then got into the finance end, and then finally I was tired of working till 9-10 o'clock at night on the weekdays and every weekend. It's different. I know you work on the weekends. Real estate does
We do,
for
yeah.
sure,
Mhm.
and I'm always on call at any given point, but I can do this from home, right? I don't have to be in the office. So, but anyway, I came from that industry, and this is my 7th year in the industry overall, and it's been exciting. And the first couple of years where I didn't know what I was doing, so it was
Yeah.
challenging. So like things would come up, and you learn from it at all
Right.
times, right?
Yep.
But learning, one of the first things that I learned right away is if that problem does come up, what are our solutions first, right?
Right.
Before we contact a client. And
Yep.
think, here's what came up, here's our solutions to get past it, and so forth. I learned the hard way because I think one of the first times that something came up, I immediately called the client, and of course they just went ballistic, and I didn't have any solution for them, right?
Yep.
So I learned that the hard way.
Yep.
But-
I was with you on that one. It's like, this is happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But and that now I have junior loan officers underneath me, so I teach them like, hey, something comes up, let's take 24 hours to think through everything, look at all solutions. Because things come up on the lending side where like, you've had them pre-approved for 2-3 months, and things have changed in that, and they don't tell you, right?
Right.
You get under contract.
Or they buy a car or something, right? And you're
Right.
like, I told you not to do
It's
this,
like,
and they did it anyway.
right, and it's just like, well, now how are we gonna solve it, right? So regardless, that's, just being able to be problem solvers and be the
Yep.
professionals that we are, it's fantastic. What, do you have any advice? Right now our market we're going through is changing drastically, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just came off of like April, May, where it was 30-40 offers in some cases. I mean, that's a little bit ridiculous, but there was, a lot of times it's over 10,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And, pricing going way high, waiving inspections, gap appraisals,
Right.
all of it, right?
Mhm.
And now the market's changed a little bit because of the economy, the uncertainty that's in the economy right now. There's more inventory on the market right now, so I feel like it's actually a very good time for buyers to buy, because we still have a shortage of homes, right? And then they've talked about it could be up to 18 years before they could catch up building homes right now, just
Mhm.
because of all the red tape in some cases for land, and the cost of materials, the overall everything going up, and now, for the recession, then builders might not wanna build as much.
Right.
Right, so, from the lending side, with rates going up, that that helps with inflation, right?
Yep.
Slows down everything else. And what we can always say on the lending side is, well, because rates are going up today, doesn't mean they're always gonna stay up forever. So,
Correct.
Yep. 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, rates come back down, there's always the opportunity to refinance. And let's face it, 99% of loans don't go to term, a 30-year term for sure.
Right.
It's at some point they're refinancing, they're selling, buying somewhere else. But, I still feel that, buying now versus buying later is still always, if it's gonna be a primary residence and somewhere you're gonna live, even if, let's say we had a 5% decline in pricing,
Yep.
2 years from now, you won't even notice that, right?
Right.
And it's like the stock market, it's only a loss if you sell at a loss.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So generally, you're buying that first home, you're not gonna have that sale right away either.
Yep.
But do you have any tips, whether it's first-time home buyers or it's, some maybe people that are buying their second or third home?
Yeah, I think, it's definitely a changing market. And so it's been, I think the biggest thing is probably educating buyers and sellers, because they're hearing so many different things, and with
Sure.
the economy, inflation and everything, there's like, some experts are saying, well, the market's gonna be fine, we're gonna, it's gonna go up appreciate just not what we've seen. Some say they're gonna come down slightly, and it's really just hard to know. I mean,
Right.
it's really, really hard to know exactly what's gonna happen.
Well,
And we can only really say what we're dealing with right now. And, it's been, I think, a much needed change.
Right.
The 30 to 40 offers in 60K over asking, sometimes up to 100,000, waiving inspections, doing those appraisal gaps is just, I mean, that's not fun for any
Right.
buyer. It's great for the seller, but
Right.
it's, if within a more balanced market, you need that. I mean,
Correct.
you just can't sustain that for a long period of time, right?
No.
So, so kind of what we're seeing now is what I think what's needed.
Mhm.
It gives buyers the opportunity to go through, have inspections, and I was never a realtor to say, don't get an inspection. Unless they specifically were like, you need to write this without an inspection, I never did. I always
Right.
put them in there, I would negotiate them as,
Right.
hey, we're gonna do an inspection, but we're not gonna ask you for any repairs, right?
Right.
So you get a little bit more of a competitive offer, but then you still know what you're getting into.
Well, 100%, because I was just talking to an attorney the other day, and the amount of these people trying to sue the previous owner now,
Yeah.
or even brokers,
Right.
because they chose not to get an inspection, right?
Yep. And some agents were telling them not to.
Right.
Like, this is what you have to do to get the offer. I was like, no, that's not what you have to do. I'm
Right,
telling you,
right.
I would get them across the table and still win them with
Right.
an inspection.
Right.
We just said that we weren't gonna ask for any repairs, but we could still back out.
Right.
So if there is
Because if you have foundation issues,
something like that, okay.
correct. Yeah, but
Right.
if it's the minor things that, and I've seen some too, my sister and brother-in-law just, were selling their home and, get this huge offer right away to get it off the market.
Right.
And then, of course, they get this huge laundry list of inspection items and it's all professional this,
Yeah.
do this. And they're like, oh, we just did that to, now let's try to get you to lower the price. And they held tight, and it's like, well, no, we're not doing any of it, we're like, it is what it is. I mean, and it was a good house. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but yeah, it's been interesting, and that's great to hear you talk specifically about that, because again, I've heard many of agents that said, yeah, waiving inspection, you gotta do this and so forth. And I've never believed in that, because you need to know what you're getting into.
For
you
sure.
know.
Yep.
It's one thing to have, some mechanical issues, but it's another thing to have that foundation.
Yeah, and you're not going in the attics. You don't know what's in there. I mean, you
Right.
could have bad infestation. I mean, you just don't know. Like,
Well-
you get into, it's like, could get really expensive, right? So,
Right, and then,
You know.
how much time do you spend in a house when you're
Yeah,
doing a showing?
not that much, especially if you're in multiple offers and
Right.
you're up against 30 or 50 offers.
Right.
You're like in there, and then you're putting an offer together, right? Like,
Right.
And for a while with COVID, I mean, you couldn't. It was so hard to even get a showing because you had to do them separate. Like, nobody else could be in there, and
Right.
so some houses you couldn't get in for 4 days, and they were 15-minute showings.
Right.
They would not let you pass 15 minutes.
Right.
So you're looking at a house for 15
You're
minutes
just
max.
flying around, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thank God that's over with.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to deal with it, so I don't envy that for you guys
Right,
at
right.
all. Like, I've been in sales my whole career, and going to the mortgage side, for me, it's specifically, it's not as sales, because when I was in car sales and auto finance, that was straight up like, you gotta make as much money per car as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And now I come to this side, and now I'm literally trying to find the best deals for my clients, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Right.
There's no, like, I don't get paid more because I do this loan program or this. Now it's to me, it's not even sales anymore. And that's where I got this feeling from you. You love your job, and it's not as salesy, and you're
Correct. No,
yeah.
no.
If
I
you
mean-
love your job, it becomes not a job anymore. Per
Right.
se, right?
Right, and you wanna do the best you can for your clients, right?
Sure.
Get them the best deal, and make sure they're happy,
Right.
you know? right?
Because ultimately, what's that going to lead to?
Yep.
Referrals.
Referrals and repeat business, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think Amber, this has been a great conversation today, and I want everybody out there that watches this to reach out. Where do you have? We're in Plymouth, Maple Grove area.
Yep,
Is this you kind of work probably all over the metro, but
yeah, yep, and like I said, I have a team too, so I'm based out of Plymouth. Another one of my agents, Ted Toon, he's based out of Brooklyn Park, and then David Schwartz is out of Minneapolis, so we kind of cover a big area too.
Sure.
So like, yeah, anything in the metro for the most part. Minneapolis, St. Paul metro, we work.
awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, if
Yeah.
you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to drop her, Amber's information below, so you can reach out to her that way. Is there any other way to, what's your email address?
Yeah, you can email me at amber@creativepropertypros.com. And that will be in the YouTube link
Yes,
too. Okay, yeah,
I'll
so all
put
that
that on
information,
there.
email, my phone number should be in there. So you can text, email, call.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Amber, thank you for coming on today, and look forward to working with you more.
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
so
it.
forth.
Thank you. This was super fun. So,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.